Statistically speaking, your average computer keyboard has 20,000 times more bacteria than your toilet seat. On a forcibly related note, let's talk about Dirty Computer.
Dirty computer breaking down.
Can we just appreciate how gorgeous that opening song is? Wonderful to hear Brian Wilson from the Beach Boys take time out of being a musical icon to continue being a musical icon. The whimsical harmonies add a light-hearted, whimsical dreaminess to the latest edition of Janelle Monáe's Afrofuturism. Mind you, Dirty Computer doesn't follow the Android suite that her past albums have, but it certainly sounds as cinematic and conceptual, tributing the music of the past but bringing this into a sleek, fresh, and modern story. Statistically speaking, 90% of those who listen to the first disc of the Arc Android experience a rollercoaster-esque euphoria. The other 10% might have not enjoyed Tightrope, and that makes me sad. It's no secret that Monáe takes big influence from Prince, having worked with the man on a previous album, but I wonder why whenever that is brought up with this album, it's often stated as if it were a detraction from the album. I mean, is it? Is being stylistically similar to Prince, of all people, that bad? Unless you really don't like When Doves Cry, which isn't exactly a trait I suggest bringing up to me in a face-to-face conversation. However, that isn't to deny the very upfront influences from Prince that crawl over this album. I'll name a few. Make Me Feel, which takes after Kiss, the beginning of So Afraid, which aligns a little with Darling Nikki, before it blossoms off into its own wonderful, gorgeous anthemic chorus that actually sounds as if it's weeping, the poor thing. And don't think I don't see you Americans. Through that ski mask of upfront political messaging and gospel bliss, I know you just let's go crazy in disguise. Dirty Computer is certainly Monáe's most upfront with the political messaging, and maybe even sheds its subtlety at the very end as if to say, oh, let me just spell it out for you then. But its overall approach to sending that message of solidarity and empowerment over the course of the album is what really intrigues and ultimately pleasures me the most. Maybe pleasure isn't the right word to use. Actually, you know what? It is. It really is. Injustice in America and feminism are two big things this album tackles, and I could almost hear the scrunched up faces being made as I named the second of those topics. But I would recommend really honing in on what Monáe is saying and how cleverly and concisely she puts them across, especially on the track Django Jane. Not just sweeping it aside like toast crumbs because you heard the word mansplaining being used on a track. Message-wise, it isn't a very deep manifesto of all these things. In fact, it isn't at all being preachy or condescending about this message. It certainly isn't trying to be a verbose PowerPoint presentation of bullet point after bullet point of factoid. Musically, this album succeeds by presenting these talking points as some of the most fun music I've heard all year. I think after what seems like my 10th listen over the course of the last week, I am ready to present a somewhat affirmed opinion on the matter. Dirty Computer isn't just what Sheldon J. Plankton calls his wife on an off night, it's also an album taking turmoil and spinning it into uplifting, empowering anthems, like a spiderweb of bops, if you will. This album is just lots and lots and lots of fun. And yet at the same time, with every mood swing it sullies into action, it keeps consistent and it all sounds threaded together. The transitions between Screwed and Django Jane, or I Got the Juice and I Like That, all really sound like the equivalent of the camera panning between scenes. It only makes sense that there was an accompanying Dirty Computer movie. But having fun isn't stopping Monáe from getting assertive, and she'll certainly say what she has to say in a sassy way to grab your attention, being entertaining but entrapping nonetheless. A great example of this is on Crazy Classic Life, which has a fantastic verse giving spotlight to those who can't live the crazy classic life that they wish to without encountering oppression and brutality that America is often run amok with. Django Jane is a sleek try-a-trap, and Monáe really kills it when she raps out verses like,
and we gon' start a motherfucking pussy riot, or we gon' have to put them on a pussy diet. Look at that, I guarantee I got them quiet. Look at that, I guarantee they all inspired.
Not just tributing the seminal riot girl band and protest group Pussy Riot, but also addressing the way which women, especially black women, are too often dismissed or condescended towards. A lot of this album speaks for feminine empowerment, and I am so here for that message to be put forward in music, especially when the rhythms and production get you shook that easily. It's so good, it makes me want to comment on subreddit saying, I'm male and even I like this. Also, at the risk of upsetting incels, this album is very much about sex. I mean, come on, do you really think Screwed is about drywalls?
Let's get screwed. I don't care.
But it's not just about sex, but sexuality too, plus gender identity to an extent also. I see what's going on with the costumes in that music video. Pynk, by the way, is a song with adorable vocal harmonies that sound as if Janelle Monáe and Grimes are just enjoying singing in their recording session. Also, the song has this great minimal synth groove that makes the huge funky chorus sound Titanic by comparison. Make Me Feel is the sexuality empowerment anthem for non-heteros, right down to the tongue clicks as the percussion, and also, what a bridge, am I right?
Oh, that's just the way that I feel now, baby. Good God, I can't help it. Hey.
And many areas, the album showcases trite taglines like, if you try to grab my pussy, then this pussy will grab you back. But it's important to remember that these lines aren't presented in crucial moments where the stakes are really high, but actually rather just on the really fun bangers like on I Got the Juice, a song which might be my least favourite just because Pharrell's verse is just a bit... But it's still ridiculously fun nonetheless, and will probably leave your aux cord exhausted on summer road trips. Besides, at least Pharrell is rapping on this track, not singing. Also, how could you hate a line like,
You fuck the world up now, we'll fuck it all back down.
It may sound silly written down, but in the context of Screwed, it genuinely sounds like the coolest thing ever. Instead of presenting the grandiose concept record that Arc Android was, or even that of the Electric Lady, Janelle Monáe went out to make a pop album that was also here to empower, giving you songs to really dance your heart out to, sure, but more importantly, spinning turmoil into a party-ready moment of sheer happiness. She got the juice, and an 8 out of 10 from yours truly.